Hi, Steve and Caleb from Brownells, and today we've got a nice little quick tip for you about mounting scopes and applying the correct torque.
Yeah, Steve, so scopes, scope rings and bases is really what we're going to be talking about here. Because we still get a good bit of questions on this particular topic.
Definitely.
And there's a lot of misunderstanding, I'll say here.
Right.
Also, when it comes to Loctiting said rings and bases. So
Yeah, we could cover that too.
let's start with some horror stories here. I'll go ahead, then Steve, if you got any, you can chime in. But you know, there's I'll just start with talking about the Ruger 1022, and it's aluminum receiver that uses 648 threads. Now, I don't know how many you've had to open up to 840, but I've had to open a few up because anything more than 15 inch-pounds will just absolutely tear the threads out of those receivers.
Right.
And it's the receiver, so I mean, once the threads are gone, you gotta do something. So back in the day, we used to sell a oversized 648.
Yes, we did.
And you can open it up to that as well. But yeah, so it's extremely important so you don't ruin your receivers. And I don't know if you had any horror stories on that, Steve.
Well, mine are more like when they use permanent Loctite on the ring screws. You can't heat up the rings to loosen the Loctite because of the scope. So you got to set it up and drill them out one at a time.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That gets old.
And it also gets expensive.
Yeah.
When you're paying for machining time just to undo a silly mistake like that. And
If you've got Torx head screws, you can always just snap off the heads with a wrench. And then drill them out at your convenience, you know.
Yeah, at least you get the ring tops off that way.
But you can take out the scope and then you can heat them up and take a vice grip and take the stems out.
Yeah, so I know we're talking about a lot about torque here. If you have no idea what torque you're applying anything at, get a torque wrench. Brownells sells a torque wrench that works really well. I know I use this one a lot. Wheeler makes a good one. I've used that's a really, I think they call it the fat wrench.
Yeah.
Because it's a little thick, so I'd prefer to call it the thick wrench, but we call it the fat wrench. And if you remember, this just popped in my head, Steve. If you remember the one-piece AR mounts that Rock River used to make,
Oh, yeah.
those rings have had a larger gap in between the top of the ring and the lower ring.
Right.
It's not a bad ring. It was just in bad situations. Because when you over-torque those, it would crush your scope tube.
But I have had that call where they say there's still a space between my rings when I've got them tight.
Yeah, do I keep tightening?
Thank God.
It's like, thank goodness you actually called, rather than just trying to close that gap. Yeah, so it's okay for there to be a gap between your top ring and your lower ring. Now, let's talk about actual torque. So, most of it, let me just back up here before I start spitting out numbers, because if you look at the instructions that your product came with, it'll probably tell you what torque to install these things at. So, if for whatever reason you don't have those instructions, a 648 screw, which is probably your most common, I would say.
Yep, by far.
All right, so.
Or 640.
Yeah, 640, 648, regardless of which one it is, 15 inch-pounds is plenty. That's all you need to do. And then for 840 screw, which is probably the next most common, 20 inch-pounds is all you need. I know there's guys out there, 25, 30 inch-pounds. They don't want it to come loose when they're in the hunt. The hunt's important. It's like that. It's plenty. You're not losing anything. Let's talk about Loctite, Steve.
Oh, Loctite.
Yeah.
Well, the devil's glue.
That tells me everything I need to know.
No, actually, I use a lot of Loctite, but
sure.
on rings, I just use the blue Loctite.
Yeah, and honestly, I very rarely Loctite a ring.
It's more important to degrease them, actually, than to Loctite them.
It is, yeah, that's a very good point. And we mentioned before that there's a gap in between your rings, right? Your rings are pretty much never going to close flush. So whenever you put torque on all those screws, there's a little bit of spring tension there, I would say, especially if you're using aluminum rings. that are going to help keep those screws in. But it's still, regardless, I never use Loctite on ring screws, and I've never had any issues. Now, I say I never do. I have on customer requests, but like Steve said, blue Loctite's all I'll do.
I got a good piece of trivia from an employee from a producer of rings, bases, you name it.
Okay.
And he was telling me, and it makes perfect sense, that when you put in Loctite, it acts as a lubricant. So when you tighten to a torque spec and there's a range, go to the low end of that range, because you're actually tightening it a little more, because that Loctite in there acts as lubricant.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So whenever we talk about torque specs, technically you have a dry and then you have a wet spec as far as torque goes. So what we're saying is 15 inch-pounds. If you put that liquid Loctite in there, you're probably a few pounds over that at least. So
yeah, and if you got some of the inexpensive imported rings that are made out of dead soft steel for the screws, and then some kind of whatever aluminum they had on hand,
yeah,
you don't want to use Loctite, because that Allen head's going to strip out when you try to undo them down the road.
Yep. I've seen plenty of that too. So, moral of the story here is on your bases, you can use a little bit of Loctite. On your rings, I would say only do it on your more reputable manufacturers, and you know you're using decent material.
Right.
Because I mean, what it really comes down to, it's the same reason we don't recommend using Loctite on your AR buffer tube.
Yeah. Good point.
It's the same situation. You have two. You have two pieces of aluminum together. That Loctite's binding those threads. One of them's going to give, and unfortunately, sometimes it's the threads.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with steel, that's usually not much of an issue. So.
No. Good components make for easy work.
That's if there's anything you remember from this video, it was that statement right there.
All right. So, what do you think? Loctite is an iffy.
Yeah, I mean, you use it if you want to, but just be aware of how to use it properly. There you go.
Exactly. All right. If you have any questions or comments about mounting scopes, torque values, whatever, let us know in the comments. And if you're watching this on the Brownells website, feel free to call us up on the tech line and ask about it. We'd be happy to talk to you. In the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time when we bring you another tip.